Downs, I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of False Starts with Bill Blank and Chris Shipley. I'm your host, Chris, as always, with my buddy Bill, broadcasting from the AKC Andrew Downs Marketing Studios and sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company. Bill, before we get started, we got to give Andrew Downs a shout-out, sitting in the hospital, had a little bit of surgery. So I just want to make sure that he personally knew how much we were looking out for him and hoping for the best. And cheer Andrew up and send him an email. So he's got a bunch of emails to come back from and buy a bunch of stuff and merch from him. So he's got some work to do when he gets back.
Oh, I'm sure that he's watching this right now. I can't.
Oh, I'm sure. He's in the hospital. He doesn't have anything else to do.
Well, yeah, maybe he is watching it actually. But yeah, Andrew, shout out. We love you. We're thinking about you. I hope your guts are all intact. Like having some kind of, I don't want to commit a fucking HIPAA violation or anything. He's like, I think he had like this whole abdominal like reconstruction thing, fucking something crazy. So sounds like he's on the mend. So yep, happy to hear that. Obviously, what has your last couple weeks been like? Didn't you have a therapy appointment between?
I did, and you remember when we always talked at therapy, we didn't, you always have to go back, and you're never really cured.
Yes, like alcoholism.
He says I'm cured. I don't have to go back.
That's right.
So
he sucks.
But
no,
I am going to actually. I don't know if you've ever done this or thought about this. I'm actually going to go attend the boys' therapy session with them. The next time that they have one, because Jordan and I sometimes have a little bit of a battle and we butt heads and whatever. And there has been a couple times that I've went to his therapy session and we've walked out of there and been in a lot better place. So I haven't been to one of his for a while. So him and I are going to sit together and just talk some things out. You know what I mean? The last time that we went, I remember I always used to say things like, you know, if I said something like that to my dad, like I would do this, and his response to me in therapy is, I'm not you and you're not your dad. And
yeah,
it really made me
Chris,
think,
what are you, a fucking idiot?
Yes, I am, Bill. What are you just now catching up?
Like, see but that brings up a really good point. Like, I think we've talked about it on here before, and I talk about it all the time. Like, shit's supposed to get better. We're supposed to be better.
Yes.
Like when it's like, if I'd have said that to my dad, he would have smacked me upside. Well, we're not supposed to do that.
Right.
I mean, obviously, you know, I'm not above like corporal punishment. Like I feel like sometimes a kid needs a backhand,
right?
You know, but not in an abusive way, you know. Like,
yeah,
I grew up getting spanked or whatever, and that to me isn't a big deal. But as time goes on, shit like that turns into a bigger deal. But I'm also it's a weird line because I'm also like not one of them dudes that's like, we're raising a bunch of pussies. We need to get back to fucking hitting them more or whatever. Like, I don't think that.
Right.
But I do feel like there's a healthy amount of like fear maybe that needs to be there, and sometimes violence, at least the threat of violence needs to exist.
Yeah,
like,
and I
like
don't even know.
I don't subscribe to the fucking violence doesn't solve anything thing. Like,
Right.
I think most people that say that never won a fight or ever even lost like or never lost a fight either. Like
Yeah.
especially growing up, like as an adolescent, I can't remember how many people I got in like physical fights with that we were like friends after that.
Right.
And something somehow in a weird way got worked out there. I don't know. Or also maybe we were both just scared to do it again. You know, I don't know.
Right.
You know, like it hurt enough or whatever. But it's hard. You don't want to be a fucking Neanderthal, but at the same time, it's like, dude, like everything's been accomplished through violence. Like the whole existence of our fucking country. We're about to celebrate the 4th of July with gunpowder and explosions. That's how we got our independence, was with gunpowder and explosions. Like, what do you, I mean, you know, I don't get it. You know, it seems to be something that's ongoing, but I feel like the threat needs to exist. I think there needs to be a healthy fear involved on all levels, you know? I mean, but
right. I think there was
father and son.
Yeah, I think it was just a level of respect, and that's what I say when I say things like that to the boys. Like,
sure,
I would not have said that to my dad because I respected that so much.
Yeah,
you know
but
I mean?
Did you?
No, it was probably more.
It was more the threat of violence that bothered.
He was
exactly
right. Yeah,
yeah. So, that was fear, not respect. Yep. But that's what I mean, though. I feel like that's okay. I remember my parents saying to me about my son at different times, like, he doesn't respect you, he's scared of you. And I'm like, well, he fucking should be. Good. Like, he needs to be scared to act a fool. Like, he needs to be scared to do that.
Yeah.
On some level. You know, like I always thought of the example with another thing I'm pretty sure I've mentioned on here before is like, what was going to stop my son when he was 12 years old, you know, in the bathroom with his friends at school, and, you know, they're about to throw a fucking firecracker in the toilet or something, like,
right.
What's going to stop him from doing that in that moment? It's not going to be the destruction of the property.
No.
He doesn't give a shit. What's going to stop him is the ass whooping that he's going to get when he gets home if he gets caught.
Yep.
So, like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a slippery slope. Like I said, there's a fine line to walk between
the consequences
love and abuse, I guess.
Yep.
But I figure as long as you're not just fucking getting drunk and beating on your kid all the time, you know, the occasional backhand once every few, maybe, I don't know, maybe once a quarter, maybe we put a timeline on it.
I remember I wasn't cleaning the garage to Dad's proper specifications, and I remember being very upset because I wasn't doing it, and he was yelling at me, and I started crying, and all I remember is getting the biggest backhand right into the middle of my chest.
Oh, yeah? He gave you something to cry about, did he?
Yeah,
Sounds very Breakfast Club, yes. Chris. This is what you get for spilling paint in the garage.
Somewhere I'm just fine. So
yeah, I know. And see, that's where we fuck up, I think.
Yes.
Well, my dad whooped my ass and I'm just fine. Like, you can't. Things are supposed to get, you know, I don't like the what about.
We're supposed to evolve.
Well, and but that happens. That extends in other things. Like when you're in your work life, probably, like, let's say all of a sudden everybody's got to take a pay cut, right?
Right.
And they're going to come to everybody and be like, well, yeah, it's a pay cut, but what'd you do a year ago when you didn't make this much money? Well, fuck you. It got better. I'm not supposed to, like, you know, that whole, I can't stand that. Well, what'd you do before? I don't know. Your fucking great grandparents shit in an outhouse. How come you don't have to do that? Isn't it better now? Isn't indoor plumbing better?
Should we not be able to take advantage of those things that are better now?
For real, like I hate that.
I'm with you.
Shit. All right, I think we should bring our guest on.
I think we should too.
That was probably too much. But so our guest, I met. I feel like it has to be at least 10 years. It might even be more. I believe it was the first time we met. He was opening for Bert Kreischer. I was emceeing at the club here, and Matt came in the day before to headline, and I opened for Matt the day before. So we kind of hung out before Bert got there, and we just hit it off right away, kind of struck up a friendship here. You know, we periodically touch base and see how each other's doing. We've ran into each other here and there on the road. So it's the king of the full charge hour. Full charge Matt Fulchiron, the Full Charge Power Hour podcast. Let's not forget about that. But he's been full charge since I met him.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. That was like 10 years ago, almost to the day. I remember.
Was it really?
I think it was in June, and yeah, I remember that because I remember it was a very hot Iowa summer, and I remember Bert signed us all up for. I don't think you did the 5K with us, Bill.
No, I didn't.
But he like he's the worst trainer because we all went out to like some kind of downtown festival first.
Yes, the farmers market.
Bert told me it was a pub crawl. It wasn't really like a 5K, it was like a pub crawl. So we drank beer at this festival. I'm sure it's an annual festival down there. And then we went to this 5K. It was at a brewery, and we had a beer or two more there. And then it was an actual race. And back then, for whatever reason, I started running it, and I was like, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to give it my all, which was the dumbest thing I could have done because it was so hot. And I'm sure I had at least dehydration at the show that night. Maybe heat stroke. Like I felt horrible.
I do remember that now. I forgot all about that. I do remember you just being just. Well, yeah, you guys drank and ran a 5K. That's 10 years ago. I mean, I feel like Bert maybe would still do that.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I would not do that.
100%.
And I was even 39 years old then. So I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking. I was like, I'm going to
party.
Be a fun opener. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, fuck it. I don't care if I work ever again.
Right.
I'm just going to the show.
Isn't that funny that all that shit from I consider myself a career opener at this point. It's been 23 years and nobody's buying a ticket to see me. So what else can I be?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat in a way. I mean, I headline sometimes.
But not.
I've got.
You can sell some tickets.
Sure, yeah, but they were like tickets that were going to be sold anyway. That type of deal. But the thing is, I've also gotten really good at taking a bullet. I'm like you. I know how to live in that world.
Yes.
And you can make fun of me if you want to. I know you won't, Bill. The internet can make fun of me if they want to, but fuck off. I'm good for that 20 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. And I can do it 3 times and put it on the same tape. And I got a 60-minute special. Voila.
I show up. I don't miss flights. I show up to gigs early.
Yes.
I'm employed.
Yes.
This is how it went. I'm still going. I still love writing jokes. I still love headlining when I get the chance. I still love opening when I get the chance. I'm at the point I've gone full circle back around to just enjoying this job. Go figure. What a weird concept.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we get so caught up at some point with whatever that next level is supposed to be that we can't enjoy where we're at.
You're always encouraged to want more.
Mm-hmm.
Even the next day after you accomplish something huge, it's always literally people ask what's next. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. You should be working on what's next, but there's this phobia amongst our ilk where it's like, oh, if I get too comfortable or too happy, I'm not going to work that hard. And that's complete horseshit.
Well, especially because
you're going to work more and you're going to have a better time on stage if you're happy.
Well, especially because we didn't get into this to work hard.
That's the funny part.
like
I essentially have a desk job now. I'm at the computer all day long.
Yes.
And I would have just kept my desk job and done like open mics at night.
It would have made so much more money in between then and now.
I had a short window where I was making a decent living opening up for Tosh, and there was no homework. The only homework was write new jokes.
Right.
And it was also in an era of silliness. So the new jokes could be like really bad. And like, as long as you were having fun and saving them all right, it was just kind of fun. So I got to live in that area for a little bit, and it was nice. You know,
it is nice. I mean, there's more freedom there than people think, especially like I've never been like exclusive to someone for any period of time, you know, like most of my work always came like, you know, I went to Columbus and auditioned for the Funny Bones and Improvs, you know? And so like most of my work was just, I didn't know who the headliner, I mean, I knew who they were going to be, you know, a week before I got there, whatever, or if I looked at the website. And then like, you know, sometimes you'd meet somebody that would take you somewhere else. And, but you know, I never was like on a tour, so to speak.
Yeah.
And like, what did you feel like? I mean, how many days in a row have you spent like when you were opening for Tosh? Like how long did that last?
You know, it lasted almost 4 years where I was one of his main opening acts. It was just me and another guy. But we both did Tosh Tour 2010, which was, we were on the road for 2 months straight, the end of September to the end of November. And I actually left the tour to go take my half-hour special. So it was like maybe the most exciting 2 months of my career, you know?
And that's like, what'd you think at that point?
It felt like everything was going my way. Yeah. And I got off the tour with a shit ton of money by my standards in the bank.
Yeah.
And a special coming out in a couple months. And it was really just the most exciting time, like excitement wise, momentum, yes. That type of thing. It was like really exciting.
How do you cope like mentally with the swings and the momentum, you know? Like,
well, I used to back then like freak the fuck out, snap decisions, drink a lot, fucking misbehave, act up. Nowadays, I have so many coping mechanisms to the point where as this conversation goes on, you guys can ask me what else. One thing I do is I try to take my ego out of it and just be like, I'm lucky that I even live in a country where I can do this. I'm lucky I got to not accomplish, but experience what I've experienced, because most of the people I started open mics with probably never even made $100.
Right.
There's also the idea that it's not always your moment. There's the idea that who cares if you never get another moment? I'm married to a woman I love. I have rent paid. I live in a cool neighborhood. I get to spend my days how I want to. Just constant. I write this down first thing in the morning because I have a tendency to think negative, but I write down what I've got going for me. Even if I'm not feeling it, I'm like, let's look at the facts. And that seems to work for me pretty well. Doing the actual work, writing, instead of going on the internet and seeing what other comedians are doing, getting jealous, do the actual work. Exercise works. Just perspective, constant perspective, you know, and staying off the internet helps. Not reading the comments helps. Everything you know helps. It doesn't feel like it helps. It's a big leap of faith to do the right thing. I don't know why doing something good you can always compare it to exercise. You never want to get in the pool and swim. You
Mm.
never want to go to the gym. But it's the 5 minutes after you start, you go, of course I was supposed to do this to make myself feel better.
So what about like when, like I've always had those, those reassurances myself, and then like COVID comes along, right? Like me personally, when we met, I was married. I'm not like 2 weeks into COVID, my wife leaves me, and I can't work. I have no name, no nothing. So like, I'm actually still recovering from that, like comedically. Like I had to shift gears. I had to do other shit to make money so I could keep my house, keep all my other shit together. But I'm just now, like you said, you're the fun part. Like I'm starting to enjoy the fun again a little bit more, and I'm not as concerned like with crushing or anything. Like I don't feel like I have to crush every time I'm on stage.
Yeah, COVID was I had a very tough time in COVID. During COVID, I proposed to my wife maybe 2 weeks before shit hit the fan, and I ended up
complete opposite end of the spectrum.
I ended up in New Orleans living with my mother-in-law because I thought it was only going to be like 2 weeks or whatever, and we were in a small apartment in New York, and we didn't know what was going on, so we're like, yeah, we'll go down there, and then I wasn't exactly stuck there, but it's weird because I was like running. I was like you. Sounds like I was like you, Bill. Like I was kind of running on fumes, paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't there. I didn't know how to make money, and I was just there. What I got to is something similar to you. Is like, well, when I go back to doing stand up, there's no way I'm doing the same jokes. Like maybe some of the same jokes. But it's like, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time because I'm going to be rocky and rough when I get back on stage. I'd never taken that much time off the stand-up stage ever since 1998.
Yeah.
And it was actually good for me as far as having the courage to try new stuff. First time on stage, I went to Nashville as soon as I felt comfortable going back out in public, which is probably longer than a lot of people, but and I just did it. I braved it, and I even did like because down in New Orleans, I was reminded of my experience with the Catholic Church, and then it was like kind of forced on me down there, and so I had like some jokes about Catholicism, and it wasn't going over in Nashville, but I was just going for it anyway. It's like I don't care.
Yeah, I know exactly. Like there's like a club here called Teehees that they opened up downtown, and it was opened by a couple of kind of local like scene guys. Every place has kind of the scene people, and that was always kind of annoying to me. And then over time, I got to where I kind of like them, and I'm glad they exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I never performed at that club really hardly at all. And just in the last year, I've gone to the open mics a couple of times. I hadn't gone to open mics in forever because they did me no good. Like, I'm not going to go to this open mic that only has comics in the crowd to try my shit out. Like that doesn't help anyone,
Right.
So like, I would rather go to the Funny Bone and eat a dick because I won't get fired from there.
No, they need you, man.
And they love me.
They actually appreciate it because you work there so much.
Right.
They love to see you trying new things.
Exactly. And so like, but I've had the same thing, and it's like, wow, I feel like I have to throw away 20 plus years and start over. Like I'm still feeling that way, like right now.
Yeah. And it's good. And there's also times where you find yourself in a situation and you go, oh, this joke.
I got to go on autopilot.
Dusty and just bust it out.
Yeah,
and then move on, So it's not for
go to show who gives a shit, My big thing is like I have a goal to do like a special in the next year because everybody I know is doing one on their own, and it's been 20 plus years for me, and I haven't done shit. So like,
yeah, no,
I'm seeing these guys that are like 10, 12 years, and maybe it's gonna suck. Whatever they do is gonna suck. But like, I'm thinking to myself, well, I won't suck. Mine won't suck.
That's a good start, Bill. I gotta tell you. And if you do, there's editing. That's the upside of producing your own special. Is it can be 22 minutes if you want it to be.
That's true. Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird. Like, I'm definitely from the era of, you
thought somebody had to come to you for it.
You submit, and if they say yes, you say to yourself, well, it must be time for me to do one.
Yeah.
I've been accepted, and I'm also gonna get paid to do it.
Right.
And now it's like you're putting up a lot of money and you're doing it, and no one's asking you to do it.
Right.
There's no demands.
No demand.
But we do need to do it.
Yes.
If we want to participate in this business, because we need a deadline. These jokes are going to get 10 times better as we approach the deadline. We're going to work 10 times harder. It's going to be fun. You're going to be glad you did it. And then you can use unfortunately, this is what it comes to, but the upside is
the clips.
You can use the clips for the next year, because you can cut it into 30-second pieces. It's unfortunate. I think there is something good to the old format of the talk show, where people were just wasting or burning 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah. Like where you go on Carson, and that was your. I'm working on my Tonight Show set. Everybody's like working on their Tonight Show set.
And then it was cool, because then you have like 5 minutes of related material. It's a tight 5 minutes. But you got to face reality. That's not how people get their comedy anymore.
I remember. I mean, I know guys that have done Conan and Jimmy Fallon, and I mean, tons of time. I mean, double digits.
Yeah.
And I mean, Letterman double digits, and they don't sell tickets.
They're
great. They're fucking great comics.
Yeah.
But they don't sell it. It's like, that's the other thing too, is I feel like maybe you just never know what's going to end up selling tickets.
No, it's weird. I think in a way you do. It's like people need company from you. They need a lot from you, actually. They need like podcasts, things like this, and constant check-ins, just giving them to the point where they feel like they really want to go see you, because you've like lightened their moods and kept them entertained. When they're cleaning their house or when they're driving to work, it becomes very special to them. And you're almost like starting, it sounds negative, but you're kind of starting like a mini cult or a mini club. Like, No,
that makes sense. I've always told like younger comics, like, you're the leader. Being on stage is 90% charisma and 10% like talent for jokes and all that. Like, you're Hitler. Like, you have to convince this whole entire country to follow you through genocide. That's how powerful you need to be. Like, that's how
I don't know if I can go with you that far, Bill. You need free healthcare, maybe.
Charisma is not the word I would use there, but
like, that was Hitler's thing, though. That if you like Mein Kampf, when he was writing Mein Kampf, that's what he said, was that he's going to be such a great speaker that he can lie about his enemies and everybody will believe him.
Sure.
So, like,
but there's just other guys who have done that besides Hitler, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't know why we're sticking with this example.
Well, I just don't know that our audience is full of Rhodes scholars, so I figure it's a really good, bam, let's go. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going to go down the list of Nobel Peace Prize winners.
Sure.
Because I don't really know of any. I think Obama won one, didn't he?
He did.
Obama win
he did, and I actually think, like, obviously I don't want to get all into this, but I think he is a good example of somebody that like got a lot of people behind him.
Yeah, 100%. That's
you could say the same thing about Donald Trump. for whatever.
You can say the same thing about Donald Trump.
I mean, he's
that was
charismatic.
kind of,
he wraps people up and gets
that's
them
kind of where I was
following.
going to go. Yeah, from there as
and
well.
That's not political. I mean, it's clear. I mean, he's
a great example of what he's a great example of. And the reason I go with Hitler is because he got a lot of people to follow him to do terrible things like that. Right. Everybody, like, he convinced these people. And that's why, like, that's what Donald Trump does. I mean, Donald Trump said it himself. He could fucking murder somebody in the streets and his people would still follow him.
Yeah, I'll never have followers like that.
Yeah, ever. Exactly.
No.
But like when you say like mini cult, I mean, that's what mini cult is. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of following that gets you rich.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking more like Led Zeppelin, you know, like that.
All right.
Well, I would say the median. I would say the median, Matt, that you're talking about that's really huge right now is TikTok. I mean, comedians that I had never heard of before whatsoever are constantly on my feed. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and you watch that video, that 2-minute video that they have for 40, 45, 50 seconds now. Next thing you know, 3 videos later, they have another video up because that algorithm, I've stuck on that. And now I'm getting that pulled in to the point where now I'm like, I'm kind of interested in this guy. I wonder where he's going to tour at, you know, things like that.
Sure.
I don't remember his name, but there was one on my feed quite a bit. He was from Baltimore. I think he did crowd.
Doesn't sound like you're in a cult.
No, but I mean, it was to the point where it was that good that I started to look him up and see where he was going to tour. So,
and now I watch 10 minutes a day of his content. I'm not in a cult.
Right. Yeah.
But so what was that? Trevor, what's his name?
Trevor Wallace.
Yeah. Is that him?
No, I don't think so.
No,
it was a weird name. I don't remember.
But yeah, and see, like, that's another weird thing in comedy that you see 2 different kind of attitudes towards. Like a guy like Trevor Wallace has chops. Like that dude was all stand up before he got big on TikTok or whatever. But then you have like your Hodge twins and people like that show up. And me personally, I don't know how you feel about it. People like that don't really bother me. Like,
no.
If they're coming to the club on a Tuesday, what the fuck do I care? If they sell out the club, it's open. Nobody's coming to see me. Now the club's open. I can work and get a check.
At risk of being corny, Bill, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? That's the game.
Yeah.
That's the game. So
exactly.
And you got to face reality. That's the game.
Now, did you spend any time in your younger years hating the player? Like you mentioned, staying off the internet. And,
of course, it can be frustrating when, you know, when you see people getting a lot of stand-up work that don't really do stand-up comedy.
Right.
But I've kind of let go of that. It's like, if you can sell the tickets, you deserve to be there. End of story. Because if it's not a comedy club, it's some small theater or even a bigger theater. Like that's life. That's supply and demand. That's commerce. That's capitalism.
100%.
Fucking pay attention.
And strike while the iron's hot, you know? Mm-hmm. And maybe they'll only sell those tickets one time, but it doesn't mean they didn't deserve to sell them that one time.
Sure.
You know?
So yeah, you can get caught up, and I've been caught up on this, like this purism of stand-up.
Yeah, oh, me too. But
that's not actually what people are looking for. That's what comics are looking at each other for.
100%.
What people are really looking for is, like you said, I don't know, you said it just recently today, like it's not really about the material or anything like that. It's about the personality.
Yeah.
And whether or not the audience is having fun. It's the reason why some nights you bomb and sometimes you kill. It's because you can't always get into that right mood or that right leadership position, essentially.
That was some of the best advice I ever got, which I didn't even understand at the time when I was younger, but it started making sense later on, was from Jimmy Wiggins. Did you ever know Jimmy Wiggins?
I don't know him.
He was like the world's last hippie. Like basically, if you started doing comedy in the Midwest and we're coming up around, it was all one little one-nighter runs,
Yeah.
And you ran into these same kind of headliners that were
Yeah.
they made $200 and you made $100, and it was,
which was like kind of good.
Yeah,
Like a
but
couple decades
it hasn't
ago.
changed since the 80s. It's been like,
well, yeah, that's the worst part.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, the money was bigger in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then dropped off in the 90s.
Yes.
No, it's like we're getting paid a drop off rate from 30 years ago.
Right.
But whatever. It's great business to be in.
Yeah, because we wanted it so bad.
But you did. You would do anything. You wouldn't care.
And it was right before. And I had worked with him a bunch, but he was a just super old guy. He got kind of far in the first season of Last Comic Standing because of he was the old guy and blah blah blah. And he did all these hacky, old school road jokes, talking about I thought I'd impress my woman and got a pair of them thong underwear. Turns out there's a front and a back to those things, like it was fucking hour of that stuff,
Yeah, man.
And
it's entertainment.
100%, and everybody loved him. Everybody,
of course he did.
And every comic that ever opened for him loved him. He always, comedy hug right before every show, and
that's great.
But I'd say I was getting ready to do my audition for Stroop in Columbus, and I was the week before working with him, and I was working through this set the whole time, this 20 minutes, boom, boom, boom. And he goes, I was kind of nervous about it, and I'm getting ready to leave. And he says, just remember, young man, it's not what you say, it's who you are when you say it.
Yeah.
And I had it was strangely comforting at the time, but I didn't really understand the depth of what that meant.
Yeah.
Until way later. And that helped me write. Like when I started I was always afraid to figure out why I was funny. Because I was afraid if I figured it out, I'd force it and I wouldn't do it right anymore.
Right.
And then when I started kind of figuring that out, that actually helped me. And Bert was one of the guys that encouraged that. Like
Bert was like, probably that week 10 years ago too, we probably had some discussions about like getting off of the material. And the way Bert describes it is the material is the boat, but you got to jump out of the boat and go swimming.
Yeah.
The boat's always going to be there to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's really important. A thing I've done, which I'm even like, vulnerable to share, but I'll share it anyway, is I was listening to a podcast with Rick Rubin and Stephen Pressfield, the guy that wrote The War of Art, which is a great book if anybody wants to read that. I recommend it to both you guys. It's very much about doing the work and not taking anything personally.
Letting go of the results, more or less.
Accepting what's difficult about it, having a sense of humor about what's difficult about it. And, he does it from like almost like a secular spiritual way where he's like, I surrender to the muse. It's almost like it's almost like relaxing your body and waiting for these ideas to come. Because
almost like surrendering to a higher power, like an AA or something.
Yeah, because we know the ideas aren't even ours in a way. That's the way Rick Rubin talks about it. Rick Rubin talks about having your antenna up, and he explains it by like, why did punk rock start at the same time across the globe before the internet? Because it was time for punk rock. The evolution was there. The idea was there. It was out there. Mm-hmm. And that's something that helps me when I'm in, nervous or something like that. I just go, you surrender to the muse. I'm just going to walk up there. I'm just going to walk up there. I might not do anything. Like,
it's invigorating because it's scary. Like you kind of spend a long time when you start out in comedy, like you kind of spend a long time trying to get to where you can do autopilot. Because like you respect autopilot. You're like, man, that guy can just fucking whatever. And so you get to that point, it gets hard to get off of it. Like,
yeah. But then
and
sometimes when you get off the boat and you get off autopilot and you start riffing and having fun, you can't even get back to the boat sometimes because they're having too much fun with you while you're having fun.
100%. That's what makes you break the monotony, so to speak. And when you're having a good time, and that goes back to being the leader, you're the leader of the pack.
Yeah.
You're having a good time. They're having a good time with you. Everyone's following you. The whole point is for them to go on the journey with you, which is something that I've talked to my son about just recently. My son's a professional wrestler. He's like in the indie world, you know.
It's pretty much the same business, right?
Pick the fucking one thing that's harder. The one thing that's harder, he picked it.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's like it's crazy, like, because he goes on the road like we have gone on the road, but then gets paid less money and has injuries. Like, it's insanity. But he's happy, and I always, you know, it's always been the conversation's always been wanting him to be happy.
I got to tell you though, I wouldn't take a broken leg personally.
Yeah, right. But this is what I've said to him, and I say to people all the time, and when I've done like career days and different shit like that, like, it's been like, you should do something with your life where you enjoy the journey so much that the results don't matter. Like, you let go of results, because if you love the journey, it never ends. So there really are no results. You're just loving the journey, but you have to love it no matter what. Or you're gonna blow your fucking head off. And you're gonna try to force it. Yeah, you're gonna try to force it every day of your life. You're like, it's gotta work today. It's gotta work today. It doesn't work like that. You gotta. And that's what I've been. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll give you an example of, like, I remember years ago, I would spend like all day sending out emails to clubs. I had TV credits, like fresh TV credits. Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck? Nobody gave a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. Yeah, because it's really hard to get those things, and it took a lot of. You think when you get them, especially at the time, like I had a reality show a long ass time ago. You think you're done, like you're like, you did it. Yeah, I did it. I'm done. The work's going to be laid out for me now. Right. But my point is, like, emails. Okay, today I'm just gonna write. Start writing. Phone starts ringing. You know what I mean? Like, there's this weird. It's a weird thing about putting it out in the universe. It's like, you hate to even say it because you feel weird saying it. Yeah. But it's true. When you're doing, and this is what the war of art is about. Like, if it's pure and you're doing what you're supposed to do, and you're actually doing the art, then the kinetic energy starts. Yeah. But you can't even be sitting there like, the kinetic energy is going to start. I'm going to start kinetic energy. It's time to start my kinetic energy. It's like when you're stoned and the microwave goes off. You're like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I put a burrito in there 3 minutes ago. What a great surprise. But that's what it is. Like, he was just, you know, he was bitching about getting fucked over by some promotion or something. And then to hear him talk about it, it's, he sounds like a 22-year-old comic that doesn't know any better, you know? And I try not to disparage his feelings, you know, or like poo-poo it. Yes. But there's a part of me that's kind of like, dude, you signed up for this shit. Like, you need to, but what I've told him is, like, you need to enjoy the journey no matter what. And if you're not currently enjoying the journey, it's okay to take a step away for a minute. Yeah. Because that's the mistake I always made, was I thought I could not ever take a step away. I could never do something else. Anything else was failure. Yes. And that was very you're giving in to your insecurities. Well, that and it doing anything else also feeds to that imposter syndrome. Right. That's like, kind of what I meant. Yeah. Like, I'm not good enough. So if I quit, I already have imposter syndrome about being a comic, period. Every time I get it. And what also, like what Matt was alluding to, what also helps with that imposter syndrome is jumping out of the boat. Mm-hmm. Because eventually you feel like you're cheating if you're just on autopilot. It's like, I can crush, like, but it's almost like you didn't accomplish anything.
Right.
So it gets stale, and
It's a break even. Like if you do the thing and you get the laughs, it's like, okay, I did. All you can say is, "Oh, good, I didn't bomb." That's what that's like the best compliment you can give yourself at that moment.
And that's what I've been doing is like we talked about it on an earlier podcast. I did a post prom, and I didn't want to do it,
right?
So I gave them a dumb number, and they said yes, and so I did it, and I guarantee they feel like they got ripped off. I guarantee it.
I made a joke about doing a corporate today with my friends. I made a joke. I was like, yeah, Biden said he was up for it and he wasn't. I was like, it's like me at a corporate. Like, I still think about like I flew to Kansas City, drove 2 hours north to go do some farmer's Christmas party, and I feel like I ruined it. It's like, what did we do? What did all of us do? Why did we all do this? You saw my tape. Why did you agree to this? Why did I agree to this? So, it's craziness.
They put a damper on the whole thing. That's 100% it too. Like, even after they booked it, and this got booked through the Funny Bone. And so, like, there's that responsibility
Me too.
Yeah. So it was like somebody that saw you at the club when you were there, like, months before or something.
No, I think it was actually done through whoever books the Funny Bones. This was years ago. They gave a bunch of videos to somebody, and they liked my video, and there we were. Up in God knows where. The stars were beautiful. I could see very well that night.
I told Jesse, like, Jesse.
Yeah.
And so I told Jesse, I'm like, man, you need to tell them that they want a magician or a hypnotist. They don't really want a regular comic.
Sure.
And so she tells them, she comes back to me and she's like, no, they insist they've had hypnotists. They want something different and blah, blah, blah. And they want you to roast the kids. And I'm like, that's never a good, when anyone comes at you with, I want you to roast so-and-so or roast, it's never going to go well because you don't know those people.
Yeah.
Right.
And B, they want you to humiliate somebody that probably didn't ask for it. Like,
that's the thing. One person
and their kids.
Yeah. 100%. And so then I end up, we book it, and I'm talking to the lady on the phone leading up to it. And I go, listen, are you sure? Because in my experience, I've done a few of these, and they're all pretty much the same. Like, the kids are held hostage. Like, they don't want to be. It's 1:30 in the morning. They've been dicking around all night with their little nacho bar and their little. Yeah. You guys think that you put together this awesome thing for them because you love your kids, and you did, but they don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
they're being held hostage because
they want their prize. They want their TVs.
Exactly, they want their fucking dorm refrigerator that they win in the raffle. Hopefully, and they're hoping
they're out of there.
They can't get that until 4:00 in the fucking morning. Because their parents want to make sure they're not fucking tonight.
Yeah, that's the whole premise is you're not going to have fun. And you can't get away from that premise.
Yeah, no.
They're going to try their best with some clean fun. But
oh my God. And so,
it's too long. It's too long of a night,
I walk in and right away, oh, you're the comedian. Oh, you better be funny. I'm tired. And fucking, oh, fuck me. And then like I get in and the lady, one of the moms, is, oh, thank you so much for keeping it clean for the kids. Like, she thanked me for keeping it clean 5 times. Worked it into the conversation. And I haven't even gone up yet or anything. This wasn't thanking me after. It was the passive aggressive. Make sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then they do the thing where, oh, it's not because of like, we just don't want somebody to come back to the school and complain. Well, it's over at that point. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So
and no shit, lady. That's what I try to tell you on the phone.
You're right. Yeah. Well, that's what I tried to tell your colleague on the phone, but yeah, so I went and did it, and I'm at that stage that we've been talking about where I was like, I'm jumping out of the boat.
Yeah.
So maybe that wasn't the place to jump out of the boat, but my material doesn't relate to these fucking kids.
No, you got to jump out of the boat like a lot.
Yeah.
I just did a show at the Comedy Store. 3 hours into the show, I had a spot on Sunday night, 11 p.m. on Sunday night. And they've seen everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went up there, and every time I would pull something out of my ass, hilarious.
Yeah.
Every time I would tell a joke, we can tell you're telling a joke.
Yeah, they can tell 100%. And that's part of it. Like when you would read like those comedy books that I would tell everybody to wipe their ass with, but like every once in a while you would see one or whatever, and you would, there'd be a lot of those books and stuff would just have some sage advice in them that you would get hanging out with comics. But but I remember it basically talking about the secret of it was to take things that aren't coming off the top of your head and look like it's coming off the top of your head.
Sure. And that's very doable most nights.
Yeah.
You can get
sometimes they're not having it. Yeah.
Yeah. But when there's tension in the room, it's weird to tell a joke.
Oh yeah. Unless you can, sometimes it's a good release. I mean, but again, that's where you're on the tightrope. Like
sometimes you can just power through. Sometimes you power through. Be like, check my jokes out, one after another. Check them out, and they go, all right.
Or you got to call out the elephant in the room, or whatever is going on. Like, I think over the years we've all probably had. You do enough shows, obviously something that you've never seen before is always around the corner, but you've also seen a lot of, somebody passes out in the front row could be a heart attack, could be drunk, could be anything,
Mm-hmm.
I was in at the Funny Bone in Richmond. Have you done that one? Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah.
And I think his name's Tim, the security guy that wears the gloves, like the weightlifting gloves. And I'm on stage, and all of a sudden there's all this ruckus. Well, there's a fight in the back corner of the room, and they bring the lights up. And I just see old boy with the gloves standing there like dude takes a swing at him like so. I just start doing commentary.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I just started going like, oh, the left hook missed. And
That's
then
great.
I just, I kind of ripped off, and it broke the tension. But then he comes up on stage.
Okay.
He grabs the mic from me.
Wow.
And he's like, y'all came up here to see him. You didn't like. And the thing is, I'm opening for Brandon T. Jackson.
Okay.
So the crowd is completely full, and they didn't come to see me at all.
Right. Right. I know the feeling.
So it's like, well, I guess thank God that happened during my set.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's like we were talking about, jumping on a grenade.
Taking the ego out of it. Like,
yeah.
Who cares about? Because how many times have you killed too, and like no one cares? Like, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
You put that on yourself. Like, if I don't kill, then this doesn't happen. Then this doesn't happen, and then I'll never go back to Richmond. Oh no! Oh fuck!
I'll never be able to go to another fake mall.
I was just going to say that.
Again,
a fake town. Short
yeah,
Paul.
Fakey Town. Troy Baxley always called him Fakey Town, USA.
Let's take a quick break for Revelton Distilling Company, and we'll come back. We're going to finish up with Matt Fulchiron.
Right. Why take the best corn in the world and make it into fuel when you could make it into whiskey? That's the question that launched Revelton, Iowa's most visible and fastest growing distillery. Owners Rob and Christy Taylor embrace the grain-to-glass philosophy, sourcing ingredients locally and overseeing on-premises production and bottling at their facility in Osceola. one sip, and you'll agree that Revelton's handcrafted whiskeys, gins, and vodkas are the best you've ever tasted. And with the launch of their rye whiskey, made with 100% Iowa-grown rye and corn, and their new bourbon coming soon, there's more Revelton to love than ever. Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com.
All right, and we are back with our latest episode of Fall Starts with Bill Blank and Chris Shipley and our guest, Matt Fulchiron. Matt, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Any excuse to see Bill Blank, man. It's been a while.
It has been a while. But you're one of the people I think of a lot where we all have like our little thing that we do all the time for a period of time. Like just a dumb little quirk or whatever. Like my ex-wife used to get pissed at me for what was that? Who's the redheaded singer guy? The Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran?
Yeah.
Yeah. He does that song. It's like, darling, I fucking whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I would just walk around the house. I would walk around the house just going, darling, I, and not singing anything else. And I would just do that like over and over, right? And last time I saw you, you were in this phase where you just mumbled like Biggie. You were just sitting there and you did it all fucking weekend.
Yeah. There's one song if you get into it, it's a remix. I don't know the name of it, but it's like, and I know the line that got us. It was like, "Isn't this great? Your flight leaves at 8, your flight lands at 9. My plane just rewinds." Like I couldn't help that myself with that. I love that line. He's at the airport, he drops one girl off, another one flies in. His game just rewinds.
Yeah,
I love like just talking through. That's good, you know. I don't know, it's satisfying.
I was fucking rolling all weekend, and then we're just trying to think of different Biggie lines. Because my favorite is
Girl,
it's my all-time.
Well, I'm sorry. Now you got me going.
See, I just
creep me in my teepee.
One more chance. Is that the name of that song by Notorious B.I.G.?
It's like Biggie, can't you see?
His hypnotized.
He's like, whatever that is.
Called him dangerous.
Yeah.
Bang with
I don't even listen to Biggie. Like, but that one song like gets me. There's like a really good remix of it.
See, my favorite line in rap all across the board, like ever. Like Outkast is like my favorite rap group of all time, right? Like as a group.
Yeah.
But I always was like, when back in the day when everybody was like Biggie versus Tupac, I always said Biggie was better. But I liked them both or whatever, which is funny, us fucking white guys dissecting rap.
Oh yeah, big discussion. Big discussion.
But anyway, my favorite line all time is he's like, I'm gonna say ninjas so I can make it sound proper.
So you can flow with it.
He's like ninjas is mad because I get more butts than ashtrays.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I fucking love that line.
Everyone knows that's Biggie.
Yeah, I actually decided, like, I was thinking about this, and I've wondered if I had a shot at all of bringing this on stage. But you know how you'll be in a discussion with somebody, like a white person, that's like trying to convince you that they're not racist, but they are.
Yeah,
like you know they are. You can just tell.
Yeah, when they say I'm not racist.
Yeah, I mean, usually if somebody's trying to convince you, they are. But like I will hear them talk about the N-word, and they will say like, well, if they call, like, they can say it to each other.
Yeah,
like, you know, that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like not understanding that just doesn't make any sense to me. But I always thought, like, well, if you wanted to be able to, like, could you make, what if you just said nickel? Like if you like, nobody would ever, like, it sounds really close. Like if you say it right, like,
sure.
What you looking at, nickel?
Yeah.
Like, like you.
I think I think you're going to get about 1 or 2 strikes on that.
Right.
And again, it's all about the tone, Bill. It's all about the attitude. Like, I think it's the what you're looking at that's going to push it over the edge.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
You won't see you. I get the philosophy. You won't see me trying it.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I love guys that, like, they gotta find a fucking way. Like,
Yeah,
I gotta find a way. Like, just through pure logic.
Yeah.
I gotta express my rights here.
And so I wonder, like, and that's exactly what I would be making fun of, but would people understand that? You know what I mean?
It's such a strange thing, like, when someone's holding on to that, like, no, there's got to be a way for me to be able to say this.
Yeah, like, why do you need it?
And you're like, the reason it's a word is because it makes people upset. Like, you can't get around it. It's the whole point of the word.
Right. Like, that's what I mean, I was doing comedy. I mean, you were too, obviously. You've been at it longer than me, but like, when we've seen shifts happen like that, like, like I used to say fag on stage all the time. I mean, all the time.
Right.
And I remember when it started shifting to where you just really couldn't use that word anymore. And I remember Louis C.K. doing a bit about how, like, it wasn't about homosexuality. Like,
right.
I remember he had a bit that was like, no, we didn't call them. We called them faggots because they were doing faggoty shit.
Right. Like, I know. And then he's such a famous comedian, and he did the best version of that joke that you can't even, like, bother with it.
You can't even do that. So it's gone.
Who's got time to explain it?
100%.
And he already explained it.
And that was a conversation I literally had with myself during that time. And it was like, well, why do I need to say it? What? And why? Because it was like everybody was really like, it's just a word, blah blah blah. And now it's that way with retarded now, kind of, sort of. Some people can kind of get away with it here and there, but it's still not.
You have to work within the context that we're not supposed to say it. So if you're gonna say it, it's gotta, like,
you gotta be talking about how you can't. Yeah. And
I think the reason you don't want to let go of it, it's not because you love that word, it's because you just spend so much time crafting it, and there's other parts of the joke that are probably smart, and it's just gone.
Right.
And words and changing one word, whether it's a politically incorrect word or just a regular Webster's dictionary word, it throws things off. And so
it can have an impact for sure.
It's hard to let go of stuff, but.
Well, for me though, it was more like in, like, the general sense, like, not even so much a particular joke, just how, like right away, like, even like right now, Jerry Seinfeld's getting a lot of heat for how he talks about political correctness ruining comedy, and he's like the cleanest guy in the world.
Sure.
Like those kind of conversations, like, in the general sense, and it's like, well, why do I need that word? What about me makes me feel like I have to be able to say it? And that
and
it can't come from a good place.
It's also closer to, if you want to look at it, it's closer to someone getting in a fight in the back of the room than you think it is. You got to be able to roll with stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and if that's something you have to be able to roll with as a writer, not necessarily as a performer, but you gotta live in this world, and you have to know that everything is context. And
rules, like, having some rules for writing comedy that's not a bad thing. Like, if you can learn to write with some rules, you can make some good money. I mean, and
you're also in a box, but you get to be creative within the box.
Yeah.
White Stripes talk about, like, I'm thinking of a couple things here. The White Stripes talk about how, like, there's only going to be a guitar and the drums, and we're going to work within that. But you can also think about, like, Howard Stern had a certain kind of comedy when he had to follow a certain amount of rules. He had a certain type of comedy, and it actually produced something very original because he had to stay within the rules. Then he got his serious show, and at first he tried to do that stuff. I remember he was like, oh, we're going to play some stuff unbleeped now that we always played before. And it wasn't half as funny.
Right.
Because now it's, like, totally okay. And you're not playing some game. And he doesn't, he doesn't have like strippers in there anymore. Because what's the point? Like you
Right.
can get that anywhere on the internet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now he's got to have really good, thoughtful content.
But it was
Like,
great then.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, we're on the radio, so you can't see it, but there's a naked woman here. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was like, whoa, dude.
It was the
And
point
the
of
amount
being
of
able
guys
to
that-
get right up to the edge and not being able to cross it. That's what was so brilliant about it.
Yeah.
Well, the amount of guys that like the amount of people that tried to copy shit like that too. Like I could remember listening to other like morning shows, like, oh, strippers from such and such are here. She's shooting, and then it was all about their react. Whoa, ping pong ball. Ooh,
Yeah.
You know? It was all fucking morning too.
No, Stern had like he wasn't known for it back then, but if you were a listener, you knew he had a likability and an intelligence. And a Robin who was going, Howard, this is fucked up.
Right. Yeah. She was the moral compass.
She was the whole. Opie and Anthony called her the whole. See, that's what, like, when all that was going on, I was a big Opie and Anthony guy. Like, and so, like, at that time, you felt like you couldn't listen to Howard Stern if you listened to Opie.
You had to pick one, right?
Yeah. And like, it's weird. It's like you're talking about people feeling like they're a part of something. Like, I felt like a weird loyalty to Opie and Anthony.
Yeah.
You know? And so, like, Stern was dumb. I'm like, oh, he's trying to do what they do, what they do so much better. And it's like, I mean, I guess maybe they copied off of him somewhat. I mean, I don't know who, chicken or the egg.
Yeah, no, I really don't know. I just know, like, I could listen to Stern on my way to work, so that's who I was listening to, and I enjoyed it. And sometimes I would turn it off, and I still listen to it, and I still turn it off. Like, it's a radio show, you know.
I remember
sometimes
here,
it's fun, sometimes it isn't.
Like in the '90s, it was Man Cow. And
yeah, that's. I heard about him, but only on Stern.
Yeah, and so it was like, you know, he was in Chicago, and we had the hard rock station here. His show was in the morning, and he would have comics on, and I'm like 19 years old, you know, driving to work and stuff, and listening to that show is what kind of shaped how I approach radio as a comic. Because I hated listening to comics do material on the radio.
Yeah, like, no, I know. And that's like kind of what you were told to do as a comic.
Yeah, and I always resisted.
It sucks. It really sucks.
Like trying to force it in, like, and that's why I've always loved Todd and Tyler in Omaha, because they do not want you to do material at all. Like, they'll call you out for it. They'll fuck with you. If something you say even seems like it was material, they'll save it for the stage, bruh. Fuck with you. But
I respect that. You know, that's a nice place to be.
And it's fun. Like, you go and you blend. It's their show. You go blend into their show.
All river, no boat.
Yes, 100%. It's so great. But then you have like Bob and Tom, where you have to have all these setups ready and like all this, and it's
like not that fun.
No, and I don't see how anyone's listening to that thinking it's good. That's what I don't understand. Like, how, like when I was, and also there was almost a laziness factor for me too, is I don't want to burn material on the radio.
Sure.
Like, then I can't, if my material makes them come to see me that night and I do the same jokes they just heard me do on the radio, I'm a fraud.
Right. Yep.
Like, so it just defeats the whole purpose.
I never got any of that, and I always hated that aspect of it. And you're waking up early a day after you traveled and performed, and you're walking in there. Half the time, the guys don't want to like you.
No.
You're
taken away from them. Yeah.
You're in their world. It was at a time where you couldn't really do your homework and find out what their show was about.
Right. Mm-hmm. I remember the radio voice guy. There was a guy in did you ever do the old Funny Bone in Huntington, West Virginia?
Oh yeah, I like that one. I liked
it too. Yeah. I liked it too. I always had fun there, and the bars didn't close till 4 a.m. Like, it was a blast.
I had a great week there one time in 2007. Just the best, man.
2007. He remembers the actual year.
I do. I remember. It was like the middle of July 2007. I love those old. It's like it's a small town, but there's like 2 or 3 blocks of city. Like,
it's Marshall. where
Yeah,
Marshall
and
is.
and there's like these old bars, like a mat, like you can
Yes.
see Don Draper and those type of. It was
Yes.
classy, man. I liked it a lot.
Oh, I had so much fun there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I missed that place. That was because Minky always booked it for a minute, and I'd work there all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember now why I fucking brought that club up.
I do know, like, I like that town.
Oh, the radio dude. You were talking
Oh,
about
the radio dude. Yeah. So we're going to do radio, and we get in, and the guy's like, "Hey, nice to meet you guys. You know, I hope you guys having a good time. You like the town, and blah. What are you guys doing while you're here, and blah blah blah, and shows are what time, blah blah blah. Okay, we got 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Hey, everybody, yeah, here we got we got Bill Blank at the studio. Oh my fucking god! And me and the other comic like literally flinched and looked at each other, and we're just like, oh my goodness.
I've experienced the same exact thing where you hear the radio voice, and then I don't want to mention any names because I think this DJ is really cool, but it was in it was in San Francisco, and she's really, I'm gonna give it away.
Cool,
I don't.
None of
metal,
us are gonna know. You'll be
like cool, like really cool metal San Francisco woman.
Yeah.
And then she's doing the voice
Oh,
when the light goes on. I'm like, you're wearing all black with black fingernails. You saw like Metallica do a bar last night. You're that in with the metal scene. And you're talking like a DJ out of like Gary, Indiana or something.
Oh, dude. And
well, go ahead.
Like, this sounds super sexist, and I guess it probably is, but it's almost worse. Well, it's almost worse when a woman does it because they feel this need. There was some kind of training somewhere, which speaks to the patriarchy or something. I don't know, but there was some kind of training somewhere where they thought they had to make their voices more masculine to be on the air, whether it was radio, TV. Yeah.
More radio. They also had to I'm going to be like the radio, even though she had this that's not all she did. You know what I mean?
Right,
she knocked it off, but for the announcements or whatever, you heard it creep in, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
This is weird thing. It's like, this is how we do radio. Like, it's with this voice, and that's just such a strange thing.
It is
to us, to anybody really who's not in
radio.
I
think to comics though it's even more strange. Like, I talk a lot about Todd and Tyler call those guys pukers. I don't know where that. I have no idea what it's a radio term. They just call them pukers, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I say that about Beth Mowens, who is a sport like an ESPN announcer that most men hate just because she's a woman. But I can't stand that voice. Like, she does that classic masculine type. Try to they always say their S's like this.
Right.
Always, touchdown Hawkeyes.
Dude, that sounds just like her. Wait, you should have said safety Hawkeyes.
Yeah, and it's a safety by the Iowa Hawkeyes. But she's not the only one. Like, it's mostly sports, but I don't understand where that is. Like, they think that men are annoyed by that. Men don't need to hear that to watch sports.
Yeah, I don't think they're thinking about it that deeply. I think they're just kind of like, they've obviously been around people that they've worked with that were higher up the food chain, and they've imitated them on some level, I think.
Yeah, maybe. And there's you had to work on enunciating properly, and they just fucking overdid it. Yeah.
And that's, I hate to keep bringing up Stern because I'm not as much of a fanatic as you think, but I am a longtime listener.
First time caller.
He found his niche because he couldn't do those voices. He couldn't be a good DJ.
Right.
So he had to do all these other things.
Yeah. Yeah, but and then maybe that's where it changed. I mean, maybe he's the one that kind of ushered it in to just use your own voice.
But then you see what happened, and we just talked about it. People looked at that and they go, "Oh, I'm going to imitate that."
Yeah.
And then that's kind of a mess too, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I don't quite have the radio voice to do the radio sound or whatever, but I am going to try to wrap this up.
Okay.
And get to the end of the pod. So, Matt, tell everybody where they can reach you, where they can find your podcast and what the name is and things like that. So
you can find everything you need to know on Twitter at The Full Charge, on Instagram at The Full Charge. That's how to find me. It's easier than spelling my last name, which is on the screen. By the
it's
way.
on the screen. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's pronounced Fulchiron.
Hey.
But does.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where Full Charge comes from. Just fucking make it easy.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird slang off of it's an evolution of the name.
I remember, well, and that's it's one of the things if I'm hosting shows, and we talked about that, like knowing your role in the show and things like that. Like,
yeah.
I will, I'll ask guys how to say their name, like
right.
for an intro. Like it's a very simple, and I hate reading it. Like the audience thinks you're in charge when you're the host. Like they think you're like, hey, this is my good friend, and then you got to look at a fucking card. So like,
this is my long life friend.
Yeah, and I'm always
Belush
on fucking. I'm always on comics to do that shit. Like, man, respect the fucking spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll take it one step further. Write it down anyway. Because it does suck when you have to look, but it's better than not knowing at all.
Yeah, that's a great way to put things, because that's another thing I tell people is the longer the intro, the shittier the comic.
Right.
And I've had comics give me like a fucking paragraph, and I nailed it, memorized it, fucking nailed it, but forgot their name, which I think they fucking deserve at that point. But anyway, thank you so much for
my pleasure. This is a lot of fun, guys. I like what you're doing. I support what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
You. And Chris does go out of town every once in a while, and we need to fill in or something, so I'll get a hold of you.
Yeah, give me a call, man.
That would be great. Absolutely.
All right, brother. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Thanks everybody for listening to another episode of Fall Starts. Be sure to join Bill and I on site at Polk City Pub in 2 weeks, when we're going to try out some good food. We're going to review the movie Inside Out 2. Come and meet Teddy Holly and some of the boys there at his place. Otherwise, check out all the rest of the podcasts on the Three Beards Media Network, and check out Revelton Distilling Company, and of course our guys at AKC Marketing and Andrew Downs. With that, we are out of here.
Peace.